Hey guys, this is Vinay and you're watching my show, Let's Talk. I'm extremely privileged to have the guest today with me. She's called the India's FloJo. She's got a very, very rare mix of having Arjuna Award on one hand and Nandi Award on the other. She's an inspiration to millions of young people here. Pleasure having Ashwini Nachappa. Hi, welcome to the show.
Thank you
Lovely,
so much.
you're looking lovely. Thank you for coming to the show.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Pleasure.
Thanks.
When you were 18 years old, you started off running. You took athlete as one of your major likes. How did that happen then?
I'll correct you right away. When I was 8 years old, I started running.
You started running when you were 8?
I was 8 years old. I started running for chocolates. Actually, I was studying in Calcutta because my dad used to work in Birdlas in Calcutta, and the factory used to go on lockouts on a number of occasions and for months on. So my mom decided to bring my sister and me down to Bangalore to pursue an education basically. And it just so happened that we were staying opposite the Kantirava Stadium.
Right in the center of
Right
Bangalore.
in the center, and there used to be a court. So every evening she used to take us, she wouldn't allow us to be on the streets, and she said, let's go to the stadium. So after school, that was a routine. So there used to be a coach who used to give us a nutrient sweet for every round we ran.
Wow.
And I landed up collecting the most. So that's how my journey in athletics started.
When did you actually take it seriously?
Well, I think from the day I started, because I represented the state when I was barely 12 years old.
Wow.
I took part in my first nationals, and I won the first gold for Karnataka when it was held in 80s here. I really don't think there was any other option then. I didn't look back. It just carried on, and the journey has been great.
But back then, to take up running, being an athlete as the mainstream, when most of them, the era was very different. So your support system, how were your parents who supported you to actually do more and more in this field?
Well, I personally believe that for any child to blossom in any field, unless there is parental encouragement and encouragement from home, it really doesn't happen. And whatever I am today, whatever I have achieved today, I owe it to my mother, because she's the one who motivated me. She sacrificed a whole lot to ensure, because having two daughters and both at international athletes was difficult way back then in late 70s, early 80s. I owe the entire credit to my mom for encouraging us to go that way.
And when was it the first time you represented India?
I was in the 9th grade when actually way back in 1982 when the Asian Games was held in India. I was part of the camp, the national camp, and I still remember those days the camps were only held in Patiala because that was the only place that had the facility. So, and I cried a whole lot because I didn't make it to the team. I came 5th in the 100 meters and the first 4 were selected for the relay. But that, I think, as they say, every failure
has something to teach.
Has something to teach, and in 84 was my first representation when India. I was probably in the 9th grade or 10th grade.
How did you feel representing India at that young age?
It's a great feeling for anybody who takes up sport or any other profession. I think you dream big. If you really want to make it, you've got to dream big. And though I was young, I always dreamt of being at the Olympics.
So you started dreaming at a very young age?
Yeah, dreaming, and then every step mattered, and how you handle those situations matter. So it's been a learning curve throughout.
And were you very hard on yourself that you have to achieve it?
I can say that I've been blessed because I've really not had that kind of a defeat early on in my career, whether it was at the state or whether it was at the nationals. I always placed, and so there was really not looking back, where some kids today you see that they can't handle failure. And that's something that we need to teach our young kids, because failure is basically an event and you've got to move on, and how they move on is very, very important.
But how were you taking failure? How much time did you take to get out of a loss?
Well, it was just at that moment.
Okay.
It was just at that moment, because there have been many occasions. I believe, nobody becomes a champion out of the blue.
Overnight, yeah.
It takes years of hard work, dedication, a number of hurdles that you have to cross to really become the champion across board. It's not just in sport. For me, at that moment you feel depressed, you feel bad that I could have done better, and then you got to focus on the next goal, and then start all over again and say, that's the target that I have set for myself.
And athletics is a very physically driven game, but at the same time, it's a lot of mental game as well, to keep it in the right balance and have the focus. So how did you actually balance it out?
Sadly, in the Indian sports scenario then and even now in most of the sport, the person who wins is the person who is mentally tougher, because everybody trains equally hard on the field. And that kind of mental training is so important for every athlete. And I just came across a sports psychologist. It so happened that, the P.T. Usha used to be the Asia's great athlete.
She got a brand for...
I mean, we've yet to produce somebody like her, So she was the target, and I had to beat her. And I always came back from a national. Usha is there, so I'm always second. So it really didn't matter until I came across a sports psychologist, and he saw me train. He came down from the US and he says, Ashwini, would you like to go through a mind training session? Out of the blue, and I said, why not? So you should be willing to take the risk too. And I said, why not? And then the mental training and the training that involved myself in an alpha state to actually achieve not beating Usha but achieving a time that I set for myself was so important. And that's a learning that is so important, which I carry it always, and I keep telling all the children that I meet across. It's not the person that matters, it's the target that you have to achieve. It's the time across the finish line that you have to achieve, and you work towards that.
And you are called the India's FloJo.
Well, that's what the press made me out.
It's flattering.
It's flattering to an extent, but I've always wanted to be different on the field. It's not just the performance, but I think I needed to stand out from the rest of the crowd. So I was different, and I spoke my heart out. I was a blacklisted athlete because I would scold everybody who didn't do the right thing. So
you were very vocal from then.
I was very vocal from, probably that's my upbringing. There is, no gray areas. You have to have, it's black or white, and either you like it or you don't like it.
Ashwini as a person, Ashwini as an athlete, how different are you in both on the ground and off the ground?
I would not like to think that I'm different off the field and on the field. I'd like to be the same person wherever I am, whichever platform I am in.
According to you, if at all you have to look back and say, maybe these are the 2-3 things that I had made me to achieve what I had set out for. The reason why I'm asking this is a lot of young people seeing this, so that they can get something out of this, that these traits are the ones that made you so successful.
There are a couple of things. As I started off saying, that encouragement from home. So for parents to actually identify the talent and to encourage and nurture that talent, because it takes a lot of time, effort, money to actually go that distance. But if you see that talent, it's important to nurture that talent. And for every young child, as I said, champions do not come out of the blue. It takes years of hard work, years of dedication, and a sense of pride in what you do.
True.
If you don't enjoy what you do and you're forced to do something, and most of the kids that I come across today, because I work with kids, everybody wants to climb the ladder of success immediately. And they forget on which side of the building the ladder is on.
True. They just want to climb.
They just want to climb, because I feel that when you strive for excellence, success automatically follows.
Absolutely.
And that's what is important. Always strive for excellence.
Much later, you got into the film world. How difficult or how easy was it for you to transition into that? What made you to actually choose movies?
Well, it just came by chance. It just so happened that when I beat P.T. Usha, I was all over the press, and every magazine had me. And at that same time, Mr. Ramaji Rao from Hyderabad and the director, Mr. Chandramouli, was actually looking to do a movie on sport. And they had cricket in mind, they really didn't know. And then they saw my picture, and then it was just before the Asian Games in 86, probably not 86, in 90. And then they came over to the Nehru Stadium where I was training, and they just asked me whether would you like to do a film, and I've never thought about it. So I said, of course not. I didn't know who Ramaji Rao was or who anyone. So I said, no way, I'm not going to do it. And I just walked out. So then they insisted, and then they were so cheeky in a sense where I had the international permit meet coming up in a week's time. So the entire crew with the camera was stationed there, and they're not allowed to take a shoot in the Nehru Stadium during the games because they have to pay a heavy price. And they actually captured me running the race, beating Usha, actually captured the entire race live. And then they just didn't let go. They came and insisted that I have to, at least listen to the story. So I said, okay, I'll give you half an hour's time, just shoot off. And right at the stadium, and then they said,
in your head, you were still thinking, I'm not going to do this, I'm going to say no.
I mean, that's never occurred to me that I should be in a film, or I've never been on stage. I mean, you give speeches, but you really don't act.
Yeah.
So it's and it's a different language altogether. So then I said, okay, I'll give you 40 days time. Soon after the Asian Games, in 40 days you'd finish the film. So, so that's how it did, and as I said, God's been really good. It became such a big hit. It was dubbed in various languages, but it was crazy. It was good fun, because I said, as long as I don't have to run around trees, you make me run wherever, I will do that.
But it's very strange that they did not come and ask you that we want to do a movie on you by somebody else playing that. They came and they wanted you to actually do that. That's a very good move, I should say, because most of the documentaries or biographies happen that some actresses play somebody else.
True. I think it was the first biopic
Yeah.
Ever that was done. Today you have many of them doing it. It's been a great experience because after that I did 5 films,
After that, what made you choose the second and the third and the fourth?
I was still competing actually, even in my second film. I came back from one of the international events, and it's just that there was such a kind of reception wherever I went. And then people saw me. I always say that what I did in that 40 days of filming, and when it was actually captured on camera and you see it on a mega screen, the 20 years of my hard work in sport
was shown in that 40 days.
I mean, I was overnight a star in that, So, and then people expected me to be seen on that, and for me it was good. I mean, I worked with the same crowd. It was the same unit, same director.
Okay.
They never treated me like an actress, so that was great. I never had a makeup man or a crew, and at 5 the entire shooting stopped. So with my director and my lightman, we'd all go jogging, do exercise. So in half an hour, 45 minutes. So I never felt...
The process was good for you to enjoy.
The process was good. The language was difficult. It was worse than my board exam. Every night I would read my lines because somebody had to dub it. So but even then I had to speak the language. But after the first 2, then you
got used to it.
Get used to it.
And then you stopped after 5 movies.
I stopped when I was carrying my first child, and I said, that's enough. Then people said I was mad. It's so lucrative. Why don't you do this thing? But I believe there's, for me, it's always been phases in life. Life is a stage, so there are
a lot of things to do, actually.
A lot of things to do, and if I can contribute in doing many things, impacting many people, I chose to stop and move on.
How hard was it?
Nothing was hard. I decided to stop athletics. One fine day, I just announced my retirement before the Barcelona Olympics, and I was injured, and I didn't want to be on the team as an injured athlete.
Sure.
So I announced my retirement in 91, late 91, before the games. And I just one day decided I don't want to do the films, and I said, okay, let's stop.
So this is great, because a lot of young girls today, we see aspiring actresses suiciding because they don't get a chance, and it's very heartbreaking to actually see such news. What would you like to tell such people?
I think the most difficult thing that we find is ourselves letting go. We want to cling on, we want to hang on to things. letting go should come naturally. You know, if I don't enjoy something or if I don't like something, I should be willing to move on. But that takes a lot of,
Absolutely.
well, you know, I tell even Sachin couldn't let go, you know, Kapil couldn't let go. I always make fun of them. I said, you all just wanted to cling on, but you can contribute so much. You know, it's not letting go, it's just a phase in life.
Out, yeah.
But in the same arena, you can contribute so much more. And that process needs to be inculcated, I guess. I don't know whether you can inculcate it or it just comes naturally. So for me, it's just, I've never had a problem.
How has the landscape of sports changed from the 80s to 90s to 2000s?
It's a slow process. While I would say that today's kids have the platform, the opportunities, the infrastructure that wasn't there then, the heart is not there, the drive is not there as much as, because we all of us in our era came from a background, from an average background. So money was difficult. We didn't run for commercial purposes.
Yeah.
It was just pride to get out, to be seen. Today it is all to get an education seat. It's a short-term goal. So very few people, though the talent is enormous in our country with the kind of population we have, the drive and hunger is amongst our rural area, our rural India. And that is an area we are not trying to tap. We are looking at city infrastructure and not at rural infrastructure. Whether you take the Indian cricket team or the Indian hockey team, you see them all from rural backgrounds.
Yeah.
Because the drive and hunger at a young age comes from those kids.
And the reason for them to do is not just money.
Initially it is not money.
Then they later get into the whole
Yeah,
band.
today it's all changed. I mean, it's important that money is there, not struggle like the days we did, where money was a big issue, and you know, we literally had to struggle hand to mouth to actually make it to a venue for competing. That struggle is not there for kids today. So that's a good thing. Whether you see the badminton league or whether you see the cricket league or you see the kabaddi league, athletes are making money, which is good.
Yeah.
Which is good. New talent is being nurtured, that is good. But there's lots that needs to be done, and it doesn't happen with these games. Sports is not a way of life in our country. You go to the UK, you go to the US, or you go anywhere to Australia, you see between college, when they have a free period, everybody is hitting the gym or they're running around the campus. That is not a culture. Or you even see Obama doing a jog. You know.
Here
So
it is not.
that is not the culture. And unless we bring about that sporting culture, because sport is, winning medals a very small percentage.
Yeah.
Sport is health.
Yeah.
Sports is a great education. What sport teaches you, you cannot learn within the four walls of a classroom.
Absolutely.
The experience for the young child to face life, different challenges of life, is only on a play field, because that's the only area where you can experience defeat and success at the same wavelength. It allows you to experience those challenges and how you overcome those challenges. It's like what Swami Vivekananda said when a child came up and said, you know, teach me to read, or I want to learn the Bhagavad Gita, and he says, I'd rather have you play football.
Absolutely.
He says, you can pretend to pray, but you can't pretend to play. You've got to play when you're on the field.
Absolutely.
And that's the learning that we need to. And that's why it's so important that for every child to be on the play field.
Absolutely.
And we need to build that community.
And you know, talking about this, I want to bring in Ministry of Sports here. How is that changing and helping sports for a country like India, where we have a lot of young people and it's going to be the youngest country in the world very soon? So what is Ministry of Sports doing for that?
Well, in the past few years, I must say that the ministry has suddenly woken up and has a lot of us as sportsperson
Yeah.
actually in the
Panel.
governing council,
Yeah.
whether it's Pulela, whether it is me, whether it's Anju Bobija, all of us are part of some work that the ministry is seeking out. Right now, I've just handed over my report to the ministry, you know, on evaluating the sports training centers of SAI and what can be done. So we were a 7-member committee that went around the country evaluating centers, looking at the needs of athletes, young athletes. So there is a kind of a feeling within the ministry and the officials, because you must know that sports federations' job is to promote sport. It's not just to hold an event or become an event manager.
True.
The responsibility of every federation is to promote grassroots sport, talent identification programs, and then bring that up for the ministry to support.
Yes.
Okay. Right now it's reverse, because the federations are doing nothing. The ministry is trying to do grassroots programs, try to do excellence program.
But it's tough for them.
It's tough. I mean, a country as large as ours with a population, sports is not a priority.
Yeah.
We need healthcare, we need education. So, you know, bringing these people accountable, getting them under one umbrella, getting it done is a huge challenge, which I'm fighting for and trying to bring that. So hopefully in a couple of years we try to bring an environment which is conducive for parents to take the risk to say, okay, there is a hope in sport. Right now we are in a stage where we cannot write like Roger Federer, saying that, what's your profession? Tennis is not my profession. Yeah. We cannot afford to do that in our country. Here we don't have a staggered education system. So the ecosystem for a child is very difficult. You have to study, you have to be a 90%, you don't get a college education.
Pressure all the place.
The pressure is enormous. And the child has actually lost out that childhood. So unless the ecosystem is conducive, it's very difficult. It's a huge challenge.
And when you speak about things changing in the Ministry of Sports arena, right? I read an article where you said that it is important for sports people like you and many others to sit in the ministry, because a person who's not played on the field would be very difficult for them to understand what needs to be done for sports as a country like India.
But that goes, if you see, all sporting federations in our country are run by politicians.
Sadly.
Well, some of the biggest names run some of the biggest federations.
Yeah.
So, and they don't want to involve sportspersons. And I'm trying to say that every sportsperson who has been recognized and the country has given them that status has to contribute back. In fact, I have actually proposed to the ministry that when you fund athletes, whether it's the top program or the OGQ athletes, whether it's Saina Nehwal or Sania Mirza, government is spending crores of money on their exposure. I said, you need to have a contract with them, say, in a year, 15 days, you've got to spend for the promotion of sport at grassroots level.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right?
That helps.
It helps. It helps, and because these are role models young children want to see, and that should be their commitment. It's not always commercial. You need to get back and make that happen for younger generation.
Absolutely. And government budget for sports as a country, it's 0.0000%. So is it going to change?
You know, the funny thing is, when the sports policy was being drafted for our state, and I told the minister, there is no point drafting a sports policy unless you can consider sports as health, and the health budget's ministry, 0.1% should be given to sport.
Yeah.
He just freaked out and he said, are you mad? That kind of budget for sport? I said, don't look at it from medal aspect.
Yeah.
Look at it as sport for health.
Exactly.
For the entire community, young or old. We need a vibrant, productive community.
Absolutely.
And for that, you need to invest.
Hope they understand and listen and do something
as
about
I said, everything is a challenge to get it done in our
yeah.
country.
You know, while we're talking about health, and it's a very important and a good point that you made, this season, Bangalore season, we are spreading cancer awareness. And it's very alarming to know that in a couple of years, India is going to have over 30% of people diagnosed with cancer. What would you like to tell?
It's actually frightening. Today we are all in such a rat race. I would just like to tell every individual that health is wealth. And unless we take care of our health, regular checkups, don't ignore. People don't go for checkups, especially mothers think that first the family comes, and if the mother is not all right,
the family
the
is
family
no one
is
to take care of.
Nobody to take care. I mean, I tell my kids, you first go to the doctor, and they'll be pushing me. But I think we need to also take care of ourselves, and that should be a priority for every individual to ensure that the health is in great condition. Have regular checkups. Don't take things for granted, especially in a we are living in an environment which is so polluted, which is getting worse every single day. Unheard of diseases that we come across.
Exactly.
And especially with cancer, I was talking to you before the show, I've come across young kids suffering from cancer, my friends' kids who lost their lives because it was just a simple pain here and there which turned out to be cancer.
And they neglect that.
I mean, you can't be aware of, as I said, my young friend's son who was 8 years old came back from school, always complained of bum pain, and then, mama, this paining, that pain. They really didn't think you play on the ground and you come back. And he was on the 4th stage of cancer.
Very sad.
It's terrible. And I think, it gives me goosebumps to even think about it. So health should be a priority for all of us, Healthy
lifestyle is extremely important, and sports play a very important role in that.
Absolutely. That's why I started by saying sport is health, and you need to play, you need to be active, because a sound body helps a sound mind.
Absolutely.
And if you want a sound mind, you've got to be physically fit, because any kind of ailment, you're mentally tired, you're mentally drained out. So it's very, very important. Sport should be played for health and then for the rest of the year.
A lot has been spoken about of late, people talking about women empowerment and women getting equal rights and everything, and getting an environment for women to feel safer. You've been there in a road less traveled, took up athletes as a profession, then got into acting, and now we're doing a lot of work for the society. So what would you like to say in terms of women empowerment?
Well, empowering also comes from confidence and from self-esteem. I have come across people who say, you've traveled at the age of 12, 13. We used to, that time there was no money. It was difficult to even go for the national camp because there was no money. And I remember my mother struggling and my father struggling to send some money to. So we would travel unreserved from here to Delhi, and I still remember going for the national camp in Patiala, traveling near the toilets with no tickets. But it felt safe. But my daughter, who played national level badminton, I would go with her every single place. I wouldn't let her travel alone. Though I would travel with her, with the team, with the state team, when she went for the nationals, but I would be there. You
wouldn't let her go.
And so did all the other parents, because the environment has become so unsafe. Today with television, it's always been there.
But it's much more now.
Today it's all blown up. You see every case is reported. So the environment has become very frightening. And I think for that we need to be fit. We need to take courage.
Absolutely.
And not chicken out with these kind of things, and encourage our children to take those risks, to be bold, to be mentally strong, to be physically strong, to overcome these things. Because you cannot lead a life with fear. My daughter sits in the US and I hear the SF bombing and the shootout, and I said, are you safe? Ma, you can't live in fear. We've got to move on, she says.
True, absolutely.
And I think we should move on and not demand for empowerment. We should empower our own selves and get noticed. Not fight for, I need to be empowered. No.
Empower comes within.
Empower comes within.
Absolutely.
With the kind of work that you do, with the kind of image that you portray. You're a no-nonsense person. It comes. When you make compromises, you want to then you dilute that. So empowering is from within.
Empowerment is from within is what she says to all the young women out there. In conversation with Ashwini Nachappa, we will be right back. Conversation with Ashwini Nachappa. Last segment, some quick questions. Let's see. One advice from someone that's changed your life.
I think from my mom, because she always said that don't worry about what happens at home. Go forward and just achieve that dream.
Wow.
Says, what happens at home is for me to take care of. And I think that's the way I look at life.
One person whom you have met personally or professionally who is like has made a major influence on your life.
There's been
A couple of them.
a couple of them. I guess every phase you have somebody who really inspires you.
In recent
And
times, maybe.
In recent times, I have great regard for Kiran Mazumdar because she's also come up the very hard way. And I've known her for many, many years. The kind of drive she has, she may be the richest lady in Asia, but it just doesn't matter because for her, the passion to help people, to contribute to the city, to whichever platform she is, she has a great drive in her. And I wish I could get some of that energy because she keeps herself so busy doing so many things for others.
And especially when she's gone through a lot personally.
A lot personally, and she never shows it. She never shows it, you know. And I believe that's what we are all here for.
Yeah. One biggest decision of your life that changed your life completely.
To get married late in my life. Well, I think all decisions, to give up athletics, to give up movies.
Or to accept a movie.
But I think the biggest decision that changed my life is to start an institution.
Tell us more about that.
Well, I also worked for a bank, a national bank, for 17 years. And one fine morning, I work with the slum and orphan children, the Parikrama Humanity Foundation. Though right now I don't have that much time. I started off. We have over 1,500 kids which go on a year-round education program, healthcare, and really taking care of their lifestyle. So I started a sports program for these
Kids.
slum kids and orphan kids. And what they taught me, even my kids haven't taught me, because the drive and the hunger in them to come out, to be seen on that play field was great, and it's great working for them. So I went back to my office one fine day. I was heading PR, and I always worked 7 chairmans I worked under, and it was like basically a routine job that I went one fine morning and I typed my own resignation and I gave it to my agent, and I said, from tomorrow I'm not coming.
It just
happened, and he says, are you nuts? What is wrong with you? And this another 3 years you will get your. I said, no, I don't want to. I spoke to my husband. He says, just leave it. If you're not interested, just leave it. So, as I said, every phase in my life I've taken decisions and risk, and then we both started up. My husband and I decided, let's do something for our own community back in Coog, because we have over 75, 80 international athletes. We don't have facilities there. We don't have a proper school there. So we decided to start a school with the Sports Foundation. And today I'm glad to say that we have from Montessori up to 12th grade, over 700 kids in the program. My 8th batch of graduates this year. So it's good, it's good. I mean, it's every day you learn. Knowledge keeps on coming, so
yeah, young blood coming in.
So it's good. It's good to be working with kids around.
I know you would say no for this, but any regret of your life?
Not really. I think every one of it has been an experience, and we are what we are because of our experiences.
Yeah.
So there is no regret as such. The only regret probably I would have said was my daughter should have continued because she was great talent in badminton. She should have continued, but the scenario she didn't enjoy and she moved on. So maybe that's a small bit of it. It doesn't matter really.
One favorite sports person of all times?
I love Roger Federer. Yeah. And well, in athletics, Usain Bolt, because he has great style. He's different.
He's different.
I connect with him very well because the kind of style he comes across, and it really shows that he has great class.
One movie person of all times?
I must tell you a secret. I haven't watched my movies itself. So I'm not much of a movie goer, And Amitabh Bachchan has been my all-time favorite, though I don't watch much movies, but he's been a great star.
If at all you were not playing in your biopic, any of the actresses you feel would have fitted the role? Any language, any actress across India?
Probably Rani Mukherjee, I think, because so many say that she has a little bit resemblance to you.
Yeah?
So probably a little bit of Rani Mukherjee in it.
One thing you want to change in the field of sports?
Oh, I want to change a lot. I want to create an environment which is friendly, which is, which is conducive for all young kids to be out on the play field and get their childhood back.
One word to describe the following people, or you can send across a message. P.T. Usha.
She's been one of the greatest athletes India has ever produced.
Mary Kom.
Mary Kom has a lot of grit, courage. She is the woman of today.
Sania Mirza.
Great style.
Saina Nehwal.
Saina Nehwal too has, I think, great courage. Has been working against all odds of late, but she's great spirit displayed on the field. Yeah.
Ashwini Ponnappa.
Well, still lots to be done. I think she has a long way to go, though she has the talent, a long way to go.
Jwala.
Jwala has great style too, and she's very combative. I guess for the woman, a fearless woman.
Sachin Tendulkar.
Sachin, in India they say he's God. To me, he's been a great player.
Rahul Dravid.
A man of class. I would rate him one of the best gentlemen.
Mr. Prakash Padukone.
He's been a great hero of his time, but I'd like him to contribute more towards sports.
One thing that gives Ashwini a kick.
A challenge.
Awesome. So what is in store for you personally and professionally in 2016?
As I said, I love working with children. So my focus is not just my institution and my sports foundation, but I'm also the president of the Athletic Federation in Bangalore. I'm the vice president of the Karnataka Athletic Federation. I'm also on the governing council in the ministry. So there is a lot to be done, and it just cannot happen with one person. But the drive to bring along the entire community to do something for sport is huge.
It was lovely talking to you. I'm sure the people seeing this would take something out of this and incorporate in their lives. Your last thoughts of being on the show?
It's wonderful. I haven't had this cut action shot
in
for a long time, so it's been great. And great, thank you. As a young brigade that's working here, you've done a marvelous job, so I'd like to wish you all the very best.
Thank you.
And a great initiative that you've taken.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on the show.
Pleasure.
Before you go, a small token of appreciation from our gifting partners, P.N. Rao and DC Designs.
Thank you. My husband will be very happy.
Your husband would be very, very happy.
Thank you.
Lovely having.
Pleasure.
Pleasure meeting you in person. Before you go, one selfie with you.
Hi, I'm Ashwini Nachappa. I hope you've liked what you've seen, and I hope you subscribe and take Vinay on board to see more and more channels and more personalities contributing. I keep telling all the children that I meet across, it's not the person that matters, it's the target that you have to achieve. It's the time across the finish line that you have to achieve, and you work towards that.